Hey, welcome to the Daily Drive. My name is Breaux, and we're kind of, binge watching an underdog story about a guy named Gideon. The nation of Israel has been in this spiritual death spiral for a lot of years, and as a result, the big bad bullies on the block, the Midianites, have oppressed them for 7 long years. Well, the Israelites finally remember God, and they cry out for God's help, and God promises to move on their behalf. And he begins by coming to a simple farmer named Gideon, and he calls him mighty warrior and tells him that he has chosen him to deliver the people from the hand of Midian. And that's where we stopped yesterday. So let's pick up episode 3. We're calling episode 3 Demo Day. Y'all ever watch those home improvement shows where they get all excited about Demo Day? It's Demo Day today. Well, episode 3 begins by God encouraging Gideon, telling him, don't be afraid. You're not going to die. I will be with you. And then God comes to him at night and says, let's get started. It's Demo Day. He tells him, before I can really work through you, these other gods, they got to go. I want you to tear down your father's altar to that false god Baal and that other phony, that Asherah pole that stands beside it. Got to get rid of all that stuff. The worship of these other so-called gods have gotten your people in this mess. And if I'm going to move in, they got to go. I want you to build an altar to me, sacrifice a bull on it, and that phony Asherah pole that you cut down, you can use it for the firewood. It's pretty cool. The other day, I was reading through this part of the story, and my phone rang, and it was a new friend on the other line. He'd been sober for 11 days when he called me. Had so much stuff in his life, and he wouldn't mind me telling you either. He's such a great guy, humble guy with a huge and generous heart. But he had been deep in alcohol, drugs, material stuff, porn, jail time, you name it. But he knows that God has been pursuing him his entire life. And he knows that God loves him and really wants to, he really wants to walk with God. And he wants to walk free. So he starts telling me about some stuff that he just gathered up and gotten rid of. In fact, he said he burned it all. And I told him what I was reading. I said, man, I'm right in the middle of reading this story where God tells this dude named Gideon that if he was going to move, there was no room for phony gods anymore. See how you're doing it. You're finally tearing down all those false gods you used to worship. You're cleaning house, man. You're giving the true and living God a chance to move into your life. And man, he's moving, and it's so cool, and I'm so proud of you. And listen to me, gang, we all got to do the same. Whatever is grabbing all your attention, your devotion, your energy, your resources, your time, your worship, has become your God. Now, you and I wouldn't call it that, but that's truly what it is. And if we bow down to it, if we pursue any other image than the image of God, then we end up empty and frustrated, and we rob God of an opportunity to set us free. And that's why we have to get honest. That's why we have to take inventory often and clean house and tear down the altars and burn them up and offer our lives as a living sacrifice for the true and living God. So Gideon, because he was afraid of his family and the people in town, he goes and pulls this demo off in the middle of the night. And so when people wake up the next morning and discover that someone had torn down the altar to Baal and built a new altar, and their other god is nothing but glowing embers, the people go off. And they say to each other, who did this? Who did this? And after asking around and making a careful search, they learned it was Gideon, the son of Joash. So they show up at Joash's house, and they say, we want the boy. Bring out your boy. He's going to die for destroying the altar of Baal and cutting down the Asherah pole. But Joash, Gideon's dad, who's obviously deeply moved by the courage and conviction of his son, he stands up and says, if Baal truly is a god, let him defend himself. If he's so powerful, let him deal with the one who tore down his altar. And it says this, from then on, Gideon was called Jerubbaal, which means let Baal defend himself, because he broke down his altar. When God's Spirit begins to move in Gideon and makes him respected as a leader among the people, he kind of becomes like a general among the quote-unquote troops. But there's still some doubt in his own mind. Verse 36 of chapter 6, then Gideon said to God, if you truly are going to use me to rescue Israel as you promised, once again, going to need a sign. Prove it to me in this way. I will put a wool fleece on the threshing floor tonight. If the fleece is wet with dew in the morning, but the ground is dry, then I will know that you're going to help me rescue Israel as you promised." Well, God agrees to play along, and that's what happens. Gideon puts out the fleece. Next morning, ground is dry, fleece is sopping wet. So Gideon says, "Okay, 2 out of 3. You ever do that? Kind of like, bet you can't do that again. This time, reverse it, God. Ground wet, fleece dry." And it happened exactly that way. God was like saying, "There's your sign." Let's just push pause today. And let me encourage you today. Tear down any false gods that might have been dominating your life lately. And just walk with the true and living God. He's with you. He's for you. Longs to do life with you today. Just listen to him and do whatever he asks you to do in the big things and the small ones today. And I hope you have an awesome day walking with him. And I'll see you back here tomorrow for episode number 4. Have a great day.